Hey everyone, this is Brandon Oliveris from Co-Creation Coaching, and I'm here with another episode of Reader's Questions. Reader's Questions is a weekly video where I can answer your questions about the law of attraction. If you have a question about the law of attraction that you'd like to be answered on Reader's Questions, please feel free to go to cocreationcoaching.org/ask, and you can ask your question there. Today's question is about anxiety and psychiatric medicine. I've already talked about anxiety in the past, but today's question is specific to psychiatric medication and how that influences the law of attraction. So our reader asks, my question is, how does LOA/subconscious mind explain psychiatric medicine? Example, taking meds for depression. If you feel better after antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds or antipsychotics, are you genuinely shifting your energy? Does it count? And how is it working from an energetic point of view? Okay, this is actually a question I've never gotten before, so I'm kind of excited to cover this one. And I will say up front, personally, I have no experience with psychiatric medication. I have mentioned that I do deal with anxiety, and I have dealt with it, but I've never gone on psychiatric medications. So this is coming from my own opinion, not personal experience, which I don't like to do too much because I like for what I say to really be validated by experience. Okay, so I have dealt with a handful of people who have been on such medications, so I do have a little bit of experience with it, but there's not really too much I can say on it. Basically, though, the question is, what happens when you're taking antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, antipsychotic medication, any kind of psychiatric medication that is basically changing your brain chemistry so that you can more easily be relaxed? Does that still count? Can you still manifest from that perspective? And, I have firsthand experience of knowing how difficult it is to manifest with anxiety because I've dealt with that for years. So I know that it's difficult to manifest when you are kind of in that more anxious state of mind. And, I think the same kind of question can be asked for anything. When you drink alcohol and you're more relaxed that way, you're less inhibited, or any kind of, let's say, even caffeine, and you're more hyped up. Any kind of chemical, let's say, intervention or chemical influence on your emotions. Does that count? And my intuition on the matter says it does count, because what matters is how you are feeling, no matter where that is coming from. It doesn't matter if those emotions are coming from, your own mind or are helped along by medication. I mean, there is a long history of shamans who have used different types of drugs to influence their state of mind and had wonderful spiritual experiences. So I don't think that it really matters whether you use something or not. It does count. Okay. Now, why is that? You might ask. It seems like if it's not authentically from you, then it can't count. But what you have to understand is that your natural state is peace and wholeness and all of that. So you as a soul, in your core essence, are peace, wholeness, light, and everything else. It is our own subconscious minds, our own egos, that is blocking the way from that happening. Plus any kind of brain chemistry, any kind of chemical issues such as anxiety, chronic anxiety that comes from not just the mind, but from actually the brain, depression, things like that, that's also blocking that stream of, let's say, well-being. So we naturally have that stream of energy, of positive energy that's coming through, that if we were totally to tune into that stream of positive energy, everything would manifest. But because of the subconscious mind, because of the brain chemistry, because of everything else, we don't do that. So I see these medications, not that you should become over-reliant on them, but I see these medications as an aid. I see them as something that can temporarily allow more of that stream of positive energy through. Okay. I'm reminded, as much as I hate to admit this, of Abraham's term. I think they use pure positive energy, PPE. But that's basically what it is, that we're connected to our higher self, is basically that pure positive energy. And the more of that we allow through, the easier it is to manifest. Our own worries, our own concerns is what's blocking that. And this medication can temporarily help us to stop blocking that energy. Now, the real question is it a permanent solution? Can you remove subconscious programs that are in the way of this energy while on this medication? And, really the answer comes down to, when you're on this sort of medication, do you still have some of those fears, but they're just sort of not as tuned up, not as intense? You still might have very real fears, very real beliefs, but they're just not as immediate to you. So I know some people will use medications like this as sort of an escape to get away from those programs, and they might use alcohol in the same way, and different types of things like that. If you're using it as an escape, then obviously no, it's not a great solution. But if it's something that you need to take to stay sane, to live a productive life, then I would still make sure that you're focusing on the subconscious programs you need to work through. Don't just rely on the good feeling. Again, I've never been on these, but my suspicion is that just because you're on it doesn't mean you're 100% blissful all day long. There's still going to be stuff that comes up. If you think about, let's say, money or relationships or health, there's still going to be stuff your subconscious says that's going to block that manifestation to some extent. And if that's the case, then it's a great opportunity to work on those things. And I think that when you're on that medication and it's blocking your, let's say, irrational fears and whatnot, and you can actually get down to your real subconscious programs and work through them, and it'll make it easier to do that, then that's a great opportunity. So it just comes down to how you handle it. I would, again, go through and look at your subconscious programs that are blocking this manifestation. And that way, if there's ever a day that you have to get off of these medications, I know some people for whom that's been their goal, then you're not right back at square one. You have, some of those programs removed so that you can do this more on your own. So I want to be careful in my language here, because I'm not saying that anyone's weak for using medication. I know people who absolutely need it. Again, there's sometimes just chemical issues. It's not in your control. It's not, it's like saying that, cancer is someone's fault, or that any other disease is someone's fault. Sometimes it's just a chemical issue. Sometimes it's just a physical issue that you had nothing to do with. It's not your fault. And even if you could manage without it, but you prefer the medication, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's all down to what you want to do. But what I'm saying is, if there's ever a day where you want to get off of it, or you are able to get off of it, or you need to get off of it, because sometimes it can actually have long-term negative effects on your body, then if you are working through these negative programs in your subconscious, then once you do get off of it, you are going to be in a much better place to handle whatever else comes up. Not to say it won't be difficult, but some of that will already be done. So that's my view on the topic. Again, I've never been on it myself, so it's very difficult to really say too much about it, but that's my intuition on it, and from my experience of people I've worked with and people I've seen in life who have been on it. I wouldn't worry too much about it, like I said. Just do your best to still do the work, your manifestation work, and you will absolutely see results. I mean, even with anxiety, I still see results, and it's, difficult to not be anxious about things. So I think that even with medication, you can still see results, absolutely. So I hope that answers your question. I appreciate you asking, and I know it's a pretty sensitive topic, so I'm always happy to answer. If those who are listening would like to see the transcript of this video or leave a comment, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/RQ9, and you can see it there. And if you'd like to ask your own question, again, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/ask and submit your question there. So once again, I am Brandon Oliveris from Co-Creation Coaching. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. And as always, anything is possible.